Hello, everybody, and welcome today. We're super excited to be here at the Next Level Coaching Group. And today we are going to be talking about the first part of the listing appointment. Now, we were originally talking about doing the whole listing appointment, and then, we realized that honestly, the most important part is the first part.
Right.
Is just really setting it up the right way and really doing it the right way. So what we want to do is kind of take our time and break it down so that we help you guys understand how important it is on the front end in the actual rapport part and the relationship part. So you may have heard, people say before, people don't care what you know until they know you care about them. That they need to know, like, and trust you. People want to work with people they know, like, and trust. So when you're going on a listing appointment, a lot of times they don't know you. You haven't met them before. So what do you need to do to create a situation where they like you and they trust you, right? So because they don't know you, it's super important that you work really hard for them to like you and to trust you. And Tom Ferry did a show one time that he said, if people don't trust you, it's going to cause tension and it's going to cause objections. And so we wanted to take this week to talk about this because the trust aspect is so important that if you can't get this part down, you'll never get the listing. So Matt, why don't I start with you and let you kind of talk about your part of this, what you think about this, how you build trust, and how you get them to like you.
Yeah. So for me, and we'll kind of preface this, we started last week with having the seller discovery sheet, right? So making sure that before you even get out there, a lot of this has to do with having, being prepared. So making sure you have your seller discovery sheet filled out ahead of time. So you have that pre-listing appointment and, sheet filled out, and then having your pre-listing packet go out to kind of set the stage. But I think it all really starts with, right before you get there, right? I'll call it, getting your mindset right. So, you prepare, you do all that. But when I pull up, and I'll just give you an example of what I do. When I pull up to the property, I'm going to sit in my truck for about 5 minutes, right? And I'm going to get mentally prepared and focused. And I think this is key. Don't worry about what they're thinking. You want them to kind of wonder why you're sitting in your truck out in front of the house. Well, what I'm doing I crank up AC/DC. And I, thunderstruck every time before a listing appointment. And I think it's key that you have that go-to song, right? Because you have to get in the mindset. And every time, I roll up, I have all my stuff. I'm looking through some of their papers, but I'm cranking up and I listen to AC/DC Thunderstruck because that gets me in the mindset. That gets me in the mood. And I'm preparing for going on stage, right? You're getting ready to go on stage. So as soon as that song ends, boom, I'm ready, right? I turn off the truck, I get out, and then it's the walk up, right? Now I'm walking up and this is a very important part. You're setting the stage for what's happening with them. So as I'm walking up, right, I'm confident, I'm enthusiastic, I'm positive, and the keys that I'm looking for as I'm going even to the house, if I haven't already, is those conversation starters, right? So looking at the house, what can I build? Already start building rapport with them about as soon as I meet them. Right. A lot of times I'm going to have this in part of my pre-research, right? Because I'm going to Facebook stock the sellers if I can to find out what they're interested in, because that's going to be a lot of what, The biggest thing is building rapport on the whole listing presentation. People want to do business with people that they know, like, and trust. If they don't know you yet, they don't even know if they like you yet, and they don't know if they can trust you yet. So we have to get those three things done within a very short period of time. And I think it starts from the very initial, when you're walking up, And to give you an example, so I'm looking, here in the Kansas City area, you usually have two schools that they're going to like. It's either going to be MU Tigers or the KU Jayhawks, right? Most people have a flag or a stone on their front porch with that. Or I'm going to look for, if they have a boat in the driveway or they have got the garage open, they've got a Harley in the driveway. I'm looking for those things that I can start to build rapport for. So I really think it starts in the very beginning as you're walking up and looking for that conversation starter. Then, and I'll let you get started after, but then I'm going to ring the doorbell. I'm going to have all my stuff, be very confident, ring the doorbell, tell them that I've been looking forward to this appointment, give them a nice firm handshake, ask them if I can come in. And here's a very important part that I found out. Always, even if their house is trashed, right? Always ask if you should take your shoes off. I mean, with some cultures, it's just you do not walk into a house without removing your shoes, but always ask. Very rarely do I have people say, oh, yes, do it. Occasionally they do, and just be prepared for that. So then the next comes, the next part comes to the grand tour, right? So I don't know, Sheila, James, if you want to add to there or if you want me to continue on that, but.
Well, why don't we, James? I can't tell if he's locked up, his video's locked up or not. Are you there, buddy?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm not locked up. Okay. Can you hear me?
Your video's not moving for some reason.
Here you can't see you, but go for it.
Why don't you talk about kind of your mentality and coming in and the way your mindset is as far as what you're going to do to help build the rapport, to help them like and trust you because they don't know you yet.
The first thing, one of the most common things I see is people have a pet, right? A lot of folks have a dog, and the first thing they want to do is lock their dog up because there's a stranger in the house. And I have the perspective of I'm kind of a dog whisperer, and I love dogs. All dogs love me. I've never had a dog that didn't love me. And the first thing I say to them is, "Oh no, let your dog. I'm happy to greet your dog. He's part of the family." And, it goes a long way to establishing trust because when the dog likes you, the dog's not growling and barking at you. It puts their guard down. It really does. And again, like I said, I usually keep a treat in my pocket. I've never had a dog that didn't like me.
That's a great idea.
It is, right? Think about it. How many people have dogs? For the most part, most families do. I mean, it's not always, but what's it hurt to have a dog treat in your pocket? Yeah, I've got 4 dogs. I have 4 dogs myself. So, treats and lollipops are, things I always have with kids and dogs.
That's
that would be the one thing I would add to that. Greet their dog, get down, greet the dog. It really goes a long way to kind of breaking that ice and making them feel like they can trust you if their dog likes you.
Yeah, I agree. And just to carry on with that thought is their kids. Because, people, I agree with you that people really look at, do the kids like you and do the dogs like you? Because if the animals and the kids are running away from you because they're scared of you, it's crazy how pets and kids have a sixth sense about them a lot of times.
They do.
The parents really look at how they react. And so I think you're absolutely right.
It's super important. I have a magnetic quality with kids and pets. And, when you have that, it really goes a long way to establishing trust immediately when you walk in the door.
Yeah, I agree. And so I think kind of combining all of those things, you guys, it's really important of how you go into the meeting. If you go into the meeting with a mindset of, oh, I'm not going to get this, or, oh, I'm a new agent, or, oh, I haven't taken that many listings, with a negative mentality, you've lost before you walk in the door. So you really have to have the mindset of, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to win these people over. I'm going to love on these people and care about these people and help these people get to know me so that they'll like me and they'll trust me so that I'll earn their business because I'm going to do for them everything I can to serve them and help them. That goes a long way with preparing your mentality. And like Mike said, you can have a song, you can have a chant, you can have a prayer, you can have whatever it is that works for you that prepares your mindset. and helps you get ready for that appointment to be where you need to be mentally, emotionally, so that when you walk in that door, you're laying it all out there. You're giving them everything you've got. Just like Matt said, it's a performance. So think about an actor going on the stage of what they do to prepare to go on stage. And when they're out there on the stage, they're not thinking of anything else except that performance and giving everything they've got, leaving it all on the table. It's no different every time you walk into a listing appointment. So I think all the things that you guys said, preparing your mind, the way you walk up, looking for things, because think about it, guys, we like people that are like us. We like people that we get along with. We like people that are similar to us. So Matt's point about when you're walking up, look if they have a Harley, look if they have a boat, look if they have something about kids signs in the yard or school signs in the yard, anything that you can see on the outside of the house before you get in there that you could identify with. And basically you're looking for commonalities between you, because something that will help them like you is recognizing the things that are the same between you. That's what Matt was getting at. So then you go ahead, Matt.
Yeah. So, the next step is, and all this, and when we're explaining this, these are systems, this is a system. You need to have it. You're going to try to follow the same system every time. And that's what we're going through, is because you want to be able to be so confident in it. And you should be practicing this with a role play partner or whatnot. But the next is the grand tour, right? So as soon as we walk in, I shake their hands, offer to take my shoes off. I'm going to ask them, can you point me to the kitchen table, right? I'm going to ask them to do that so I can set my stuff down, right? I'm right there. One thing I'm doing is I'm already taking control of the whole conversation. Right. And that's what we want to do. We want to be in control of this conversation. If they say, come on in, and they start to go towards the living room where there's, sofas, couches, whatever, and they want to sit down and talk there, I'll say, well, can you take me to the kitchen table? I prefer, I've got a lot of stuff. Can we go, I want to control my environment. Right. So that's the first thing. So they walk me to the kitchen table, set your stuff down. Then I'm going to turn to both of them, assuming there's two people there. If there's one, I'll say, just take me on the tour. If there's two, I'm going to say, which one of you wants to take me on the grand tour? Right? So I'm asking which one, because I'm wanting to, figure out who out of the two is in control. Right? I'm also trying to figure out which one's a decision maker. And a lot of times by asking that, I can start to figure out their personality types on the DISC, right? The DISC personality type. If I have one of them say, oh, you take them, and they point to the other spouse, then I know that they may be a little more dominant and they're just telling them to take them. If I have one just jump up, oh, I'll show you, they're a little higher eye personality and they want to show the house. So, this is a system in place to kind of figure out who the decision maker is and what kind of personality types they are. Then the key is, while we're doing the tour, right? My whole point of the tour is I want to build rapport again, right? I've seen the house. I've seen thousands of houses. I probably know what kind of floor plan it is. I know where the master bedroom is. I know where the bathroom is. That I don't care about that. I mean, I want to get an idea on the of how they've maintained the house, but you can usually do that by the time you walk in the front door, right? If it's going to be either well maintained in the style, and if you're going to have to talk about any work to do there. But I'm using the FORD system. So FORD, which stands for family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Okay. So that's a rapport building tactic that I'm going through, and I'm asking them something about all four of those areas. Right. And so as I'm walking through the house and I'm looking at all the pictures on the walls and everything, I'm asking them about their family. Right. So I see that they may have a 9 or 10-year-old, children, and I'll talk to them about, ask them about their kids, ask them, oh, so are they in this school? Are they in private schools? Where are they going? And then I'm going to try to find that common ground by saying, well, I have, twin 9-year-old boys. So are your kids into, Fortnite, or are they into whatever, whatever's going on in that age group, to try to build that common ground? And that's the whole key of the whole Grand Tour is building rapport, number one. Number two is I do not want to be overly enthusiastic about anything with the house, right? So if I see that they just put in granite countertops, I'm not going to go, oh, wow, those are amazing, beautiful granite countertops. Because I don't want, every time you do that and you say something great about their house, they're adding $10,000 or $20,000 onto the price they think they should get for their house, right? And my whole goal is I'm not going to be too over enthusiastic. And then, so we're going to do the Grand Tour, and I'm going to go back, and the first thing, we're going to sit back down at the table. The first thing I'm going to ask them is, may I please have a glass of water, all right? Even if I'm not thirsty. Again, I'm taking control of the conversation, and I'm asking them to do something for me to help control the conversation. So, that's the key for kind of the Grand Tour. Again, this is a process. I do the same thing every time on every listing appointment. So, Sheila, you want to add to that? You do something very similar.
Yeah, James, why don't you go?
Yep. And Matt, I follow the same, everything you're saying is exactly how I approach it. So I really have nothing to add other than saying that I follow the exact same system in the way that you approach it.
Well, I think it's important to understand, you guys, that this is not meant to be an interrogation. So right. When you're doing this, when Matt's describing this and the things he's doing, you've got to always have in your mind the goal is that you want them to like you and you want them to trust you. And so the questions that you're asking, and as you're going through this process, the whole point is trainers will use the word rapport all the time when they're talking about, you got to build rapport. But ultimately it comes down to them liking you and trusting you. And so when you're going through this, if you're not feeling it, like if you're not, you can usually tell if people like you. You can usually tell if, they're laughing with you and they're opening up to you and they're sharing with you. You can usually tell that things are clicking and that you're winning them over. If you're starting to feel, or if you're feeling as you're going through the process that there's a rub or a defensiveness, or they're holding back, or they're not really giving a lot of information, they're not think about opening a book. They're not like an open book with you. Or if one of them's an open book and one's not, one's kind of holding back and not really talking, you have not won them yet. Do not sit down at that kitchen table until you are in rapport. Because if you do not have the rapport where that they both are in a position where you can tell that they're liking you and that you're building some kind of trust factor, then you're going to blow it when you sit at the table, because someone will not pick someone that they do not like and trust to work with. They will not do it. I don't care how successful you are or how good you are or how persuasive you are. They will not choose you if you have not built that rapport and if they don't like and trust you. So some of the things you can do is slow down. Slow down in the walkthrough. So you could, like Matt says, you don't have to pump them up about things you see, meaning that you don't have to say, oh, your granite countertops are so gorgeous. But some of the things that you can do to help yourself slow down is not just, stop at the picture. Oh my gosh, so you have 2 kids, what are your kids into? What do you guys like to do as a family? You don't keep walking, stop at those points. So it gives you a chance to actually try to connect with them, look at them in the eye, try to make sure that there is a rapport being built and that you can tell that they're starting to open up the doors to you. And then the other thing is, you can even ask them when you go into the rooms. Sometimes I'll say to people, depending on what the house looks like when I walk in the door, is I'll say one of the reasons why we walk through the house before we sit down is I want to give you the opportunity to let me know as well anything that you need me to be aware of. Do you have any problems with the house that we need to discuss when we sit down? Do you have things that need to be fixed that we need to be aware of? And I also frame it from the perspective of when I walk through your house, I'm looking through multiple people's lenses. So I'm looking at it from the eyes of what another agent would see. I'm looking at it from the perspective of what a buyer would look at. I'm looking at it from the perspective of what an appraiser is going to look at. And I'm looking at it from the lens of what a home inspector would look at. So I'm not just walking through your house to walk through your house. I have a purpose walking through your house to make sure that I'm prepared to help you be prepared for every potential thing that could come up in the process. And
I love that. I like that.
Yeah, saying it that way, it's not like I'm just trying to see what your house looks like, or that I'm just, casually walking through your property. There is a specific reason why I'm going through your home, because I'm here to help you, and I'm here to help prepare your property so that we can make sure you get the most money possible.
That's great. That's great. And so, and we've got about, 8 minutes left. So I'm going to go over just a couple things real quick that we say when I first sit down, and then next week we'll go actually maybe through the actual presentation, and we'll screen share and show the presentation. But so we've gone, I've asked for water, right? We've built the rapport. We feel comfortable. Here's a vital script that I think everybody should memorize, and I'll post it on our Facebook group. But here's one thing. It's after this appointment, there's a good chance that we may or may not do business together, because I do turn down more listings than I take, right? But I promise you this, you will be more educated on the process to make the best informed and logical decision to successfully sell your home. Right. So that right there has got, that one little script has gotten me more listings than I think anything else, because what it does, it's a takeaway. Right. So when you say that you turn down more listings than you take, it's a takeaway. They automatically start thinking, oh my gosh, why wouldn't he want to list our house? What's wrong with our house? I want to be one of the ones that he actually takes. If he turns down more, then I'll be special if he takes my listing, right? So right there, then again, it's setting the stage. Again, we're in control of the whole conversation. And if you start with that, then everything else is almost them convincing you to take their listing. And after I started using this, I mean, it was night and day on my listings. People would actually, at the end, instead of me asking for the listing, which if you don't get it, you need to definitely ask for the listing at the end. But a lot of times now they're asking me, hey, so are you going to take our listing? Right. And that's much better than you having to ask for it.
Exactly.
Right? So, I definitely want, and I'll post that on our Facebook group, but it's one of the best scripts I've ever used in listing properties. The other one that I kind of want to talk about, and we'll get a little more into this next week, is definitely when you sit down and you go through that and so ask them if they have any other questions, then definitely use this. It's on a scale of 1 to 10 question. So, and it's in the conversation today and moving forward on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10, me being brutally honest with you, right? Brutally honest. And 1 being, I'm just going to, kind of skirt around the question and make you feel better about yourself. Where on that scale do you want me to be? Right. And most of the time you're going to get, well, I don't want you to be brutally honest, but I want you to be honest. So, 7, 8, or 9, no one ever says 10 because they don't want me to be brutally honest. And that'll help down the road when we're talking about pricing and stuff that they need to do with their house. Because when I say you have to take out that 1970s wallpaper because it's ugly, right? I'm going to say, okay, remember when we talked about me being, on a scale of 1 to 10, being honest or brutally honest, and you said 7, said, okay, now I'm going to be a 7 when we're talking about this room. Is that okay? And they'll laugh. And most of the time when you point out that room, they'll Yeah, it's the wallpaper, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, take it down, right? I'm being honest. So then you don't have to go into explaining. You don't have to sugarcoat stuff as much because you've already gotten permission. Now, I have had people tell me, oh, 4 or 5, I don't want you. I mean, I love my house, right? So then you have to, where you're going, right? But so those are some key scripts, to learn, to think about. James, you want to add to that?
I'm sorry, Matt. I'm cutting out here.
There.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Sheila. Do you want to add to that? And then we'll wrap it up and get everybody prepared for next week.
Yeah, I think the more you can do like what Matt's talking about, where it's really important, guys, that we have scripts. I know agents that don't practice scripts, or we struggle with them to practice scripts. But the reality is, to become an expert at anything, you have to practice. So you really have to have things in your toolbox, if you want to call it that you're prepared for, and you have to practice with people to get to that level. So we're going to upload basically a checklist for you so that you'll be able to start practicing. But we can't say enough how important it is to do this in order to be prepared to be an expert. And the way you become an expert is by constantly learning and constantly practicing, no different than what an athlete does. You don't want to practice when you go on the appointment.
Right.
You want to practice before the appointment as much as you can, as often as you can, and even get a role play partner. You can join in the groups. There's lots of groups where you can get role play partners. But it's important to have these things in your toolbox so that when you go into the meeting, you know what you're going to say, you know what you need to find out, you know what you're going to have to do to prepare the people for sometimes potentially not great conversations, because we go into a lot of houses that don't look great or have things that we know that if you don't change this, someone's not going to buy your house. As crazy as it sounds, it really is. What I tell people is that, listen, people are visual. So if someone visually walks into your home and there is something blaring in front of them, they cannot get it out of their mind. And as simple as something is as paint, you have a bedroom that's pink or purple or whatever crazy color you want to paint on your wall. When people walk in, they have a very hard time overcoming those things that visually do not fit in their minds. And right. It's hard as an agent to talk people out of things, even if that's just paint. It's a couple $100 to repaint a room. It's just something stuck in people's minds. So as far as the, beginning of the listing appointment, we've talked about, you don't know them yet. Most of the people you don't know. So our key factors are, we're wanting them to like us and we're wanting them to trust us. We want rapport over anything else. It's the most important piece of moving to this next phase that we just talked about, that we're going to talk more about next week, of really helping you master the listing appointment. But even this initial phase, you really need to practice and think through, what are the things that I need to do are you even likable? Are you right. On the appointment? Are you even likable? Are you somebody that's stiff and uncomfortable and people don't want to be around you, or you're not winning people over? So we have to be likable. We have to be people that are trustworthy. Are you doing and saying, are they matching? So we have to start there in the beginning in order to be able to win people over. So we're out of time this week. For those of you who are not a part of it, we have a public Facebook group called Next Level Coaching. You are welcome to join. It is free. We are here. We, as agents, believe that we need to give to each other and give back to our community. It isn't that we don't charge anything for this. This is just open to the public to serve and build relationships and to help us all be successful. We hope you guys have a great week, and we will catch up with you next week for part 2. Thanks,
awesome.
guys.
That was great. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.